Okay, this is the patron-only extension of the rhythmic modulation video that was just posted. So for you patrons, I want to share with you another way that you can think about rhythmically modulating. And it uses a similar idea to what I talked about in the video. So if you haven't seen the main rhythmic modulation video that is for free up there on YouTube for everyone, go watch that first, because I'm going to pick up right from that. I'm not going to re-explain everything from that video. So another way that you can make your rhythmic modulation is by keeping your eighth notes the same. This might be easier for some of you. You're going to keep your eighth notes the same in your original rhythm, but then you're going to turn those into triplets for the new rhythm, if that makes sense. You're going to feel those as triplets in the new rhythm and then switch to the new rhythm as if those were eighth notes. Is that totally confusing? Let me give you an example. So if we're here, 75 BPM, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and dot dee dot dee dot dee 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 dot dee 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 dot dee 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 dot dee 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 dot. Okay, so that's a way to take a pulse. You take your eighth notes, and then your eighth notes become, you start to phrase them in threes, and that's a triplet in the new pattern. But then you play the new pattern in 4, or you can play it in 3. All right, let's do that first. Let's go. You can do either way. I mean, phrasing is up to you. You know, meter is really a function of accents. It actually is, because all the notes are just notes, right? If I just play ba 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 ba, you don't know what the meter is. But as soon as I go ba 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 ba, or ba 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 ba, and I move my hands, then you have a concept of what the meter is or what the phrase is. So let's review this concept again. I'm going to take a rhythm with some subdivisions. Let's use 16th notes. Dot dee 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 dot dee 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 dot dee 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 dot dee dee dee, 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E. And then I'm going to keep those the same, but I'm going to phrase the new tempo as if those were triplets. Dot dee 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 dot dee 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 dot dee 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 dot dee 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 dot 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 dee dee dot, for 1E and a 2E and then I'm going to shift it back into duple. Right? So it's a two-phase process there. Just like the other way. The other way, we actually flip the triplets in first, and then we make those eighth notes. This way, we're taking our eighth notes and making them triplets, and then shifting it into sixteenths or duple. But let me go through that again, because I know it takes time, but I think a playing example is the best way to understand it. So 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a dot dee 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 dot dee 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 dot dee 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 dot dee 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 dot 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 da 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 jaka taka 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 tiki 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 tiki. So now we're in this new faster tempo, right? Did you see how that worked? So the eighth note gets phrased as a triplet, and then that quarter note from the triplet, or the dotted quarter, to be technical, the pulse in the triple, then you chop it up into 4. And now you have a new meter, you have a different tempo, but you've modulated there. You just haven't sped up. So the new tempo, whether it's a faster feel or a slower feel, is a product, a mathematical product of the original tempo. And what is nice about this is that you can write this into an arrangement. You can have an agreement between people that you're playing with that that's how you're going to get there. You're going to get from A through B, and you're going to get to C through this process. But it's not just like, oh, let's just play faster, or when is this going to happen? And you can plan out, as in a transition, how many how many beats you're going to use for each one of those steps, because they do take some steps. Maybe eventually you can get to the point where you kind of just go straight into it, and there's a lot of drummers who can do that. I think it's a skill. If you look at like drummers like Dave Weckl, he'll actually do some grooves, and then he'll start phrasing like another groove. That's his rhythmic modulation. He'll actually just go straight into it on top of the main groove, and it's pretty amazing. And he'll do fills and everything, and then come back to the original one. So A rhythmic modulation is like it's almost like a relative key. It's like a different, like you're going from C major to A minor and back to C major. It's connected through a mathematical rhythmic relationship. It's not just floating out there in space. Even though to your audience or to somebody listening to you make that modulation, it might seem like it's coming out of nowhere, right? It's like you're playing 1 and 2 and 3 and then all of a sudden you're just like in a different tempo. It's not double, it's something in between, but that's how we get there. So again, in the original video, we took a duple, we kind of phrased it as a triplet, and then the triplets became sixteenths or eighths. In this way, we're doing it the other way. We're taking our original rhythm and we're taking those eighths and we're going to turn those into the new tempo by phrasing those as triplets, and then we're going to shift the triplet, whatever the main pulse is that's resulting from that process, we're going to take that and make that into a duple meter. So let me give you an example. The first way we did it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Right? That was one way. And the second way, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 dot dee 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 dot dee. Does that make sense? Maybe they end up in the same place. I don't know. I just know there's two different ways of thinking of them. Maybe some of you who have more of a mathematical mind than I do can figure that out. They might be really close, but again, the important thing is to remember that you can go both ways, and you can go from, of course, you can go from a duple meter to a triple meter by changing the subdivisions straight into the new subdivision without making the quarter note the master pulse. In other words, we can go from a duple to a triple and use the old eighth notes like we just did actually. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and dot dee dot dee dot dee dot dee dot dee dee dot dee dee dot dee dee dot dee dee. That's one way to do it. We can go from a triple, of course, to a duple. Dot dee dee 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 dot dee 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 dot dee 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 dot dee dee dee. Right? That's also a rhythmic modulation because you're changing the accents, which changes the meter. So that's kind of like, I guess you'd say the level 1 way of doing it. You just kind of keep the eighth notes the same, keep the subdivision the same, and just shift into another meter. This way, we're actually doing two things. We're doing that, plus we're changing the phrasing, so it ends up feeling like a little bit more different. And again, I haven't really analyzed all of this to be able to give you more ways to think of it or to explain it. Maybe some of you can do that, and you can leave it in our community comments area. In any event, I want to just throw that out to you so you can start experimenting with it. And the best way to do that, is you can have your metronome. Like, you guys know that I use this Dr. Beat old school DB88. And you can, go with a medium tempo like 90. And start vocally at first. You can just start by vocalizing 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 bing bum be bop be bop be bop be 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 dee dee da dee dee da. All right, and that actually is an interesting exercise. If you leave that on, and you notice that there was a polymetric thing happening there, polyrhythmic thing, where the click becomes, the click is in threes and I'm phrasing in fours. And I've talked about that a little bit before in previous videos on sort of polyrhythmic, polymetric ideas. So that's related to this. Have fun with that. Experiment. There's no right or wrong way to do this. It's just a matter of you taking this idea, this concept, and working with it and playing with it and exploring it and, discovering these things for yourselves. You can listen to me talk all day long. You can nod your head. You can kind of understand it, but you're not going to get it into your repertoire or your way of playing music until you do it a bunch of times and in a bunch of different ways. And that's how we grow. So remember, you are your own best teacher. I'm just showing you things, giving you some advice, pointing you in a direction. but you got to walk the path, all right? And if you need help, I'm here for you. I appreciate you all being patrons of the channel, of course. Go out and make some great music. I'll see you all in a future lesson.